Good morning. Welcome back in. You probably didn't hear about this late yesterday. A federal judge denying a motion by Donald Trump's lawyers to declare a mistrial. This in relation to the civil battery defamation lawsuit filed against the former president by Carroll. The trial's happening in New York right now. A third day of testimony happening yesterday.
For more on this, let's welcome in former prosecutor, constitutional law attorney, and Newsmax contributor Ameer Benno, and defamation attorney and managing partner at Binnall Law Group, Jesse Binnall. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Ameer, so Trump's attorney asked for a mistrial, accusing the judge of making persuasive, unfair, and prejudicial rulings against Trump, but were since denied. What do you make of this?
Right, well, I think he needed to do it. I think he felt like the trial has been very slanted in terms of the rulings. For instance, he made the arguments that the judge expressed concern, obviously, over Donald Trump making public statements, but no concern whatsoever over the fact that Carroll's lawyers publicly released information regarding mock trials that they did, what the jury results were on those that favor the plaintiff.
It's interesting to me, Jesse. Oh, I'm sorry, Ameer. Go ahead. I thought you were all done.
No. Other things of that nature. So he's just trying to preserve the arguments because I think he foresees there being a necessary appeal in this case.
Jesse, I was watching this play out yesterday, and then I'm looking at some of the media coverage this morning, or lack thereof. As interesting as it is to say, there's a trial going on right now with the former president. He's not there in the courtroom. But I just don't think there's a lot of appetite for this left, even when it comes to the media. Yes, it's being covered, but not in like a wild, salacious way. Do you think that's because there's fatigue, or do you think that's because the media realizes that this is a really weak case for somebody who's making claims about a former president, and she can't even remember when this happened?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think the media doesn't want to cover the claims in this case because, if you just take an objective look at it, it's extremely, extremely weak. And that's why I think it's the fact that she doesn't remember so many important details about the case, what year it even happened, facts that she said such positive things about Donald Trump and the show that he was on, and, talked about, having sex with him years and years after the case. Things that have come out in this trial are things that the media do not want to report on, at least not the mainstream media, because it just completely discredits the allegations against President Trump and really, I think would go a long way to show the lawfare campaign by so many people on the left against him for being what it is.
Ameer, we know former President Trump is not there. We saw what happened last time when he came to New York for the court. Do you think that he should be present? Would that help him at all, or does it matter in this case?
I don't know that it matters in this case. There's so much, and just to get back to what you were just talking about, there's so much static that I think people have sort of tuned it out. But I don't think that the president should disregard this case and minimize it and think that it's insignificant. In fact, it's somewhat astonishing to me that the media is not focusing more on this, because here's the thing. In New York State, there is no statute of limitations on rape, forcible compulsion, which is essentially what Donald Trump is being accused of here, but in a civil context. So if a civil jury finds him liable, I think there's a very real concern that Alvin Bragg, the district attorney in Manhattan, who's already shown his willingness to prosecute Donald Trump on very thin evidence, can now turn around and say, hey, I'm going to prosecute Donald Trump for a rape, regardless that it happened 30 years ago, because there's no statute of limitations. And when people say it's politically driven, he's going to say, what are you talking about? We had a jury trial. We gave Donald Trump every due process right. He picked his jury. He cross-examined witnesses, and a jury of his peers still found him liable. I'm therefore going to prosecute him. It's going to be very hard to attack Alvin Bragg on being politically motivated in that circumstance. And it presents a real political and sentencing exposure risk to the former president.
Jesse, can you pick up on that? I mean, who doesn't go to their rape trial? I get that. If you got a rape trial, people typically go to their rape trial, right? Donald Trump's not there. To Allison's point, does that make a difference with a judge or jury if he's in the actual courtroom, the former president?
I don't think that it does. I think his lawyers are looking at this the right way, because unfortunately, with with President Trump. I don't know that it really helps with this particular jury to see him there in the courtroom. He's such a lightning rod in places like Manhattan. I think they're probably making the right call on this. But in addition to that, I just think that the judge in this case, the rulings that he has made have shown to be so one-sided that nobody can really say that this was a fair trial, regardless of what happens with the jury. We really, in this country, we need judges to start acting like judges again. When they put on that black robe, we need them to put aside their political leanings and treat everybody fairly. That's not happening right now.
Stop acting like activists. I think there's just so much fatigue out there, and I think people at home just can't keep all these cases straight. I don't know if it matters to voters. I know you will continue to cover this. Ameer Benno, Jesse Binnall, thanks for being with us and breaking it down. We'll keep an eye on it. Thank you.